A big twist in Michigan's NCAA battle came earlier this week. We have to talk about that and a heck of a lot more, and we're going to do so right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group, not on the ground in Las Vegas. As you can tell, we opted not to go to that. So I'm your man at home. Thank you to all of our everydayers. We do appreciate all of you who check out the show every day. And thank you for making us your first listen. We do appreciate that as well. We tried to I actually had recorded an entire show on Monday and tried to make it work. Technical difficulties made it so we could not get it to work. And it was all about Tony Petitti's letter to the NCAA, Big Ten commissioner, now arguing on behest of Michigan. So instead of doing a whole show on that, we're going to do one segment because I don't really think that on Wednesday it warrants doing 30 minutes like we did. And so I apologize that technical difficulties could not salvage the show. But I think it is interesting news as it pertains to the Connor Stalions thing, especially because, number one, you had all of the rival fans, some rival outlets, rival writers out there putting out this, I hate to use this word, misinformation that, the Big Ten, they could also come down on Michigan, or the message board on a certain rival website with a fake insider who was out there saying like, in the Big Ten, when they heard all of these details came up, they were dismayed and they recognized that they were going to have to come down even harder. They're just shaking their heads in disbelief. It's like I've been saying for a while, outside of the initial report, something's coming for Michigan, all of that, which you can understand how and why if you put all the dots together. They have not had a very good track record. As much as they want to say, the Michigan media has not had a good track record, a lot of them were drinking through a fire hose, right? So there was just a lot of people who didn't really exactly know exactly what was going on, right? So it's one of those things where I also understand there's a lot of skeptical Michigan fans that say, why do this? Or rival fans too. I've seen, either side of the coin have the same argument where they say, well, Tony Petitti is doing this to protect his brand and whatever. And I have to side with Trevor McHugh from over at Maize and Blue Review that if that was the case, he wouldn't have bowed to the peer pressure to begin with, right? This is kind of one of those situations where cooler heads have prevailed. And finally, Tony Petitti is doing the right thing. Will it mean anything in the end? I don't know. But I think it's actually pretty gargantuan given the state of college football right now, given the state of the NCAA right now, right? Like you have the CSC is now going to be presiding over a lot of these things. And that's the conferences, right? So you're no longer going to have the NCAA presiding over cases like these for the most part. Right. It's going to be the conferences. So and the fact that it's like, if they wanted to right now, the Big Ten and the SEC could completely make the NCAA fully irrelevant. So in some ways, it holds more water and more weight than it would have than like when Jim Delaney said the same thing to the NCAA about Jim Tressel. Right. Like it's a different scenario. I understand the cynicism of a lot of Michigan fans and all of that. It's usually the same ones that have bought somewhat into the media narrative, right? Like that's the thing that a lot of people want to sit there and say, oh, Connor was this rogue, crazed person who was doing for himself. I think I want to point to the Dan Wetzel piece in the Sign Sealer documentary, where at the end, now he doesn't name any names, but he says, after FOIAing a couple schools, it was found that other schools were doing the same thing. We found names of those people at other thing. Now it didn't really jump off the drawing board there, right? Like, I don't know why names weren't named there. Hopefully that will come at some point. But what you have to understand, and this is why we've really gotten into the media narrative thing when it comes to Connor, right? Especially if you're a Michigan fan. If you're a rival fan, you're going to believe what you want, right? Like, you're going to believe the sky is green, that grass is blue, right? Shrimp is dessert. I don't know where these idioms come from, but that's what I came up with off the top of my head. You're going to believe what you want to believe in this case, right? So here, it's I don't know why Michigan fans glom onto it. It's kind of, maybe it goes into some of the John U. Bacon, you're not happy unless you're unhappy type of thing. Not really sure. But there's certainly a large element of Michigan fans that look at this and look at Connor negatively. Ultimately, he was doing his job. And it's one of those things, like I've said to you before, it's been painted in the media of like, how could people not have known that he'd be this good at his job? And it's like I've said, it's just, it does not stand to reason that you would sit there and say, hey, the guy we hired to do a job is good at his job. That sounds fishy to me. Right. And Connor wasn't doing this thing that was just like, oh, wow, that no one else is doing this. Right. Like he was doing things that others were doing. So it's one of those things where it's like you buy into a narrative that this is like this singularly bespoke situation that Michigan solely and uniquely has broken some rules. And it's just not true. Just because it hasn't been proven elsewhere, that's like it's like if they got caught for something else, dropping bags, and the SEC's out there like, oh, the horror. I can't believe this. The sanctity of the game. So nonetheless, as it pertains to Tony Petitti, I think that it's a very good move. It has a chance to be a powerful move, but we won't really know because it's going to be up to those NCAA powers that be. Michigan has already been punished by said Tony Petitti. It ultimately didn't work. That might not play to Michigan's benefit, right? Like if Michigan fell off those 3 games, didn't go to the playoff, didn't win the championship, then the punishment would have really come through. But Michigan was that good in 2023 that it was able to overcome some of those obstacles. And for those who are just like angry, like I'm just going to hate Petitti anyway, I think one of the things that is interesting about it is this just became more adversity that Michigan had to overcome. And it made the championship that much sweeter in my eyes, because up until that point, Michigan really wasn't facing adversity. They didn't face any Power 4, Power 5, I guess at that time, Power 5 teams in the non-conference. They didn't play any like massive teams. Like they had Penn State late, right? Like it kind of just upped the ante. In hindsight, would you change it? I don't know that you would, because ultimately that showed you just how good Michigan was. And it really, for all of the rival people that like to throw out bet and everything, like Michigan did win that game running like 18 million times in a row, right? It's just like the same people that post the Sharon Moore crying gif and want to act like it was a bad moment. It wasn't. So anyhow, all right, we're going to move on. We've got a couple other things that we are going to discuss today, chief among them. And I have to actually go to my notes. We didn't talk up front. Oh, yeah. Joel Klatt talking about why to buy Michigan. And then after that, we're going to get to some rivalry stuff with the other rival. We are going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you've suddenly decided that you need to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes all of that possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually go down the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Maybe the Tigers getting back into the winning ways. Maybe you not being there is the reason why they have just been losing. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So, a couple different things. I think I already had mentioned. Yeah, I did. Like, obviously, not in Vegas. Like, we try to do the housekeeping coming out of the breaks. Not in Vegas. We actually recorded a whole show on Monday, and that didn't end up working due to technical difficulties. I think we're fine. The computer was acting glitchy, and I think I figured out what it was. But the audio was cutting out the whole time. It was like the gym on The Office. And you'll be saved. And I got 2/3 of trying to like sync it up to video and all of that, and I'm like, we can't do this. So there's that. Okay. Last thing, launched Monday GP, an F1 fan site. If you want to get involved, by all means, reach out to me. Obviously, we're not making money. It launched yesterday. Zuri is very excited about it, and she's about to come on the show. You can see this on video. But Trevor McHugh and I will be recording the first podcast after we get done with this show. So look out for that if you are a fan of F1 racing. If not, then still look out for it. So, all right. Kind of funny that Zuri hasn't been on the show in a while. And so to have her come in, interesting stuff. All right. So Joel Klatt, the best in the business, even though I don't agree with Joel on everything, but like on a lot of things, right? Like, obviously I don't agree with some of his takes on the Connor stuff. Now I did earlier when he said stuff about the foot, that if the more of a big deal you think that all of the Connor stuff was, then you don't know football. The less you know about football, rather. But one of the things that he is spot on with is general analysis of the game. And he broke down several teams. He had Michigan as a team that he's buying into. I think that is, obviously we are there. I'm probably one of the more optimistic people on the media side. Now, preseason, that's not unusual. I tend to buy the propaganda that is being sold to me at press conferences. Now, we haven't had a press conference in spring ball, so but I just look at what the team was able to finish at, and which is one of the things that Joel mentioned, right? Like I feel like these are the things that people aren't looking at. Is how did the team finish? Who left? I think people take too much stock in who left, because I think that Alabama game gave us that's one of the beautiful things about it, is that it gave us a really good preview of what to expect from the next group against a quality team. Because it would be one thing if they were playing like North Carolina, or if they were playing, Wake Forest. They probably weren't playing Wake Forest, but like, say they got into they were in an also-ran bowl, but say they played an also-ran opponent in said also-ran bowl. And then on top of it, you had Josiah Stewart, you had Mason Graham, and you had those guys, and they're just like, we just wanted to finish out with our brothers. Then it would be really difficult for us to sit and glean anything. But, and let's just say it was like Alabama was without Jalen Milroe, without Jam Miller. Obviously, they were going to have Ryan Williams regardless, but like, let's say that they were without a lot of those guys. They weren't. And they were telling everyone that would listen, like, we are not going to be in that situation where we are a team that is not, that is here just because we are designated to be. That was what happened, right? They were telling everyone, like, okay, we didn't make the college football playoff, but we're all going to play. We're going to show everybody why we're Alabama, why the college football playoff made a mistake. And that didn't happen. So they went against mostly the guys. Again, on defense, only two of the players that were like playing significant minutes not on the team in Quentin Johnson and Amir Hall. I mean, those are big players, but you get back Rod Moore, who tells the Wolverine that he's about 85% back to health. We'll see if that ends up being true. You've got more experienced younger players now are going to be feeding off of a little bit of that confidence that they gained in that game. And then offensively, all Michigan really needs to do, and that was so Midwestern, all Michigan, all that Michigan really needs to do is find a way, and these are all points that were essentially made by Joel, which is, it's almost like he listens to the show. I know he doesn't. He's been on the show multiple times, but not in a long time, but, still. Is just get something offensively. That's it. Now, I've seen some of again, because I tend to be fan-facing, I read a lot of what you guys say on message boards. I like to know what you are thinking and what you are feeling. And I've seen a lot of people complain about, like, Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman trashed our wide receiving core. Okay, yeah, I do that all the time. Like, do I think it has an opportunity to be something? Yes, but it is so unproven. I don't think the offensive line is quite as bad as a lot of people think, although in their preview on PFF, Max Chadwick and Dalton Wasserman not that high on Michigan's offensive line last year. I mean, that stands to reason. They were like 99th. I think that you saw a little bit better. Like, if they play the way that they did in the final two games of the season, like, then what are we talking about, right? Because they can have that same kind of rise too. And it's not like they, but they lost more people there. Okay, but like, did Josh Preeb get drafted? Yes, Miles Hinton did. But like, are they, we saw the closer to the final iteration in the bowl game as well. But like, if it plays like it did against Alabama, and considering, like, you figure, like, okay, Michigan players are able to get better as well. Like, you expect an offensive lineman going from year 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 to get better. You generally expect that. If they're playing regularly, you do expect that. Evan Link is allowed to get better too, right? Like, you can sit there and say, like, oh, well, he was not good last year. Looked good in the final two games of the season last year. Looked pretty good in the spring game to me. I know others didn't believe so, but I didn't see any massive problem upon rewatch. I think that they're in a much better spot. And then, the other thing that Joel mentions, which I think is the thing that people are, for whatever reason, going the wrong way with it, is the schedule. Like, Michigan would have to be worse than it was last year and I don't think that they are. I think on paper they look better in a lot of ways. Michigan would have to be worse than it was last year to post a worse, like a 7-5 or an 8-4 record. Could they? Absolutely, they could. College football, you never know. There's only a few teams that you can say, like, chances are of them dropping below 10-2 are like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama before recently. So, you just never know. There's a reason why Indiana's come from out of nowhere. But I'm more likely to believe that last year was a blip on the radar for multiple reasons. Not having the quarterback, Sharon Moore's first year being a head coach, but the fact that they were able to dig in and hang on and play the way they did down the stretch tells you a lot. So kudos to Joel. I agree with his buy. Well, that doesn't mean that they won't lose games, right? Like, I'm oscillating between 10-2 and 11-1 next year. Could they be 9-3? Could they be 8-4? Absolutely. I'm not saying that they can't be. I'm just saying that it stands more to reason to me, given the opponents, like, acting like Nebraska is suddenly like this powerful team. I think that they will be better, but better does not necessarily mean 10-2. Better for Nebraska might mean 8-4, right? Like, they have not been that team just yet. So I don't remember their record last year. Was 7-6 overall, something like that. It might have been 8-5. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I mean, this was a team that was regularly not making a bowl game. That's going to take some work. Michigan has the championship culture still. So there's that. All right. I want to get to some of the rivalry stuff, just because you had a couple of the defensive players at the golf outing taken by a Spartan grad, and Tony Garcia, by the way, from the Detroit Free Press, as a couple of these guys rip on Michigan State. Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is a heck of a lot more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Listen, before Monarch Money, I didn't realize that I had subscriptions out there that were just being paid. Some of them are that's still the case. But that helped me realize, like, oh yeah, I did subscribe to that. I said it, I used it for like a month, and then I forgot about it. Canceling some of those made it so that I could buy this dog here. Nope. Bought the dog before some of those. Nonetheless, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at Monarch Money for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off of your first year. All right, Zuri thinks we're going to go somewhere. We're not going to go nowhere. This dog, that's all she wants. That's why she's here. She's not sitting here because she's just, oh, I just love this cuddling time. If you're watching, it looks like that's what she's doing. No, she's using witchcraft right now to try to convince me that we need to go to the store or that we need to go for a car ride, but she doesn't like car rides. She thinks she does, but she doesn't. See, here she goes. She thinks mission accomplished. She wants to go to grandma's is what she wants to do, but we're not. I'm just using her buzzwords right now. She's getting all excited. Yes, I'm being mean. And there she goes. See, if you're listening, you just missed the cuteness. Anyhow, just go lay down. Just go lay down on your puppy bed. Yeah, puppy bed. No, she doesn't want to do that. All right, so we've got we got a couple Michigan players at the golf outing that again I wasn't at. So I need to stop being man on the ground at this point. I'm not at anything, at least not during the summer. I'm home. I'm your man at home. But you had Derek Moore, Rayshon Benny, and Trey Williams, who's like he's a new guy to this whole thing. Saying that they're going to take belt to behind to Michigan State. Rayshon at least tried to add other teams, but it kind of got drowned out. I think it's funny that I see a lot of people being like, oh, well, wish you didn't say that. You got bulletin board material now, Michigan State. Who cares? Like, I think that when you look at the trajectories of the teams at the moment, if Michigan doesn't win that game, it's on Michigan. It's not on Michigan State. Was so angry, right? Like, they're going to be angry anyway. That's who they are, right? Like, and I'm not really 100% feeling Jonathan Smith yet, right? Like, he kind of has that John L. Smith feel to him. Sorry, Michigan State fans, just how it feels. Now, Aiden Childs I think he's really good, honestly. I know that there's a lot of Michigan fans that don't believe that. Nick Marsh is also really good, but I don't really necessarily feel like they have the protection or the supporting cast to really make that thing go. So, you know what? Like, Michigan's had bragging rights for the last 3 years over Michigan State. Fine. I will agree with the one thing, like, you better not let down then. But, like, it's better, I think, like, when you are in Michigan's position, you've beaten one rival 3 straight times, Michigan State. You beat the other one 4 straight times, Ohio State. You can talk. That's part of it. You can sit there and say what, about either. Go ahead and talk your talk. Like, it's as long as it's like not with outside of bounds, right? Like, you can sit there and say, yeah, we're going to take belt to behind. That's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to do. Michigan State had that right for several periods at this point, going back to 2009 forward, right? Like, they had the bulk of the Mark D'Antonio era, and they weren't afraid to let you know what they thought about Michigan. Usually with saying, like, oh, they can talk, and we're just gonna be about it, and then they talk a whole bunch, right? It's like the typical double side of your mouth type of thing. But they can do it because they were the team that was doing it. You hate it when you're on the losing side. What I don't like is when you talk and you haven't been winning. In recent memory, right? It's not about like, and this is where like even like throwing out the overall like winningest record type of thing, like college football is about what have you done for me lately, right? Like when Michigan was losing regularly to Ohio State, well, what's our record against you? Who cares right now, right? Like, they're, a lot of you would have traded the overall series record for just getting a couple of these last few wins after just a decade and almost two. I was going to say a decade and a half, almost 2 decades of just losing regularly to those guys. So if you're the winner, to the victor goes the spoils. Like, especially like, again, if you're a Michigan fan, don't be the I'm only happy if I'm unhappy type. Just take a look at it and say like, all right, guys, yes, they got to go do it. But like, does that put a target more squarely on their back for Michigan State? No, it doesn't. It never has. They hate Michigan as much as they possibly can, regardless. So now it'd be something different if they were out there saying like, Oklahoma, you're about to go, like you're a garbage team and you're about to go down. Someone's going to cut that. I'm not saying that about Oklahoma. I'm saying like, if they were saying that, then like Oklahoma might be like, oh, wait, what? It's not like that. Hey, Purdue. I mean, Purdue's not great. Maybe Washington. Hey, Washington. We're glad that Jed Fish is, got out of here. You could have him. That's not a good one either. For the record, I love Jed Fish, but I'm just saying. Anyway, it's just much ado about nothing overall. All right, tomorrow, we will probably record before, probably between Sharon Moore's 2 sessions at Big Ten Media Days. So more so, we are going to react to what happens. There will not be a mailbag this week unless I suddenly do a weekend show as if from out of nowhere. I don't know. We'll see. But because we will be responding to some of the stuff from those things. So we will talk to you again on Thursday as we dig into the beginning of Michigan's turn at Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace.